Hey, everybody. So, today we're talking about clauses and phrases, and that's teaching us all about creating more advanced sentences. Plus, as a bonus, I'm going to teach you your new all time favorite word. So, let's get into this. Starting with the recap, a sentence is a blank clause. Do you remember this? We learned this. A sentence is a certain type of clause. And hopefully, you remember that it is an independent clause. Independent meaning a sentence can stand alone on its own. It is good. It is right. A sentence contains a subject and a verb and is a complete thought. So let's look at an example. Luca excels in the classroom. What is the subject? Remember, subject comes at the beginning of the sentence, and that is Luca. And what is my verb? I'll give you a hint again. The verb comes immediately after my subject, so it's excels. What does Luca do? Well, Luca excels in the classroom. He doesn't do well. He doesn't even do great. Luca excels in the classroom. Good for Luca. Now, this type of sentence is known as a simple sentence. This is a basic sentence, and this is what we're going to be building off of today. So let's build on this. Luca excels in the classroom. Now, you can connect two simple sentences together by using a comma and one of the fanboys. Now, fanboys is an acronym. Each of these letters represents a word. So fanboys stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, or so. For and nor, but, or, yet, so. Those are the fanboys that I can use to connect two simple sentences together. Let me give you an example. Luke excels in the classroom, but he is not a great athlete. So here's my first sentence. Luke excels in the classroom. I have a second sentence here. He is not a great athlete. In this sentence, he is not a great athlete. What's the subject? The subject is he. He is who we're talking about. What's my verb? It's one of our classics, one of our favorites. It's is. He is not a great athlete. And I can combine these two sentences together by using a comma and a fanboy. So, comma, but. Luca excels in the classroom, but he is not a great athlete. And again, this is one of the fanboys. And I could say Luca excels in the classroom and he is not a great athlete. Luca excels in the classroom, yet he is not a great athlete. I can use any of these fanboys that make sense, obviously in context, to connect two simple sentences together. And this is known as a compound sentence. So, compound meaning I'm taking two, I'm bringing it together. That's a compound sentence. Now, we spent all semester talking about independent clauses. So, now let's talk about dependent clauses. And a dependent clause has a subject and a verb, but it does not contain a complete thought, meaning it cannot stand alone on its own. Now, a dependent clause always starts with a subordinating conjunction, which is a word that you probably don't want to remember. And I don't really want to remember it, to be honest with you, so we're just going to call them something easier. A dependent clause always begins with an awubis word. So awubis words are my favorite. And obviously, awubis is another acronym. And awubis is after, as, although, when, while, until, because, before, if, or since. And you probably won't need to remember all of these. You're going to get used to seeing them in writing and in reading. So these are my awubis words. And here's what I want you to remember. If you see a sentence that starts with an awubis word, it's a dependent clause. So dependent clause starts, a Web's words begin a dependent clause. Here's an example. Because he regularly studies, Luca excels in the classroom. So here's my regular sentence. Luca excels in the classroom. My Awubis word is because. So I have a dependent clause now because I have a word because, and it's because he regularly studies. Because he regularly studies, that's a fragment. That's not a good sentence. But if I throw in a comma, I can connect these to make one good sentence. And the biggest thing that I know is going to probably blow your mind, as it blows the minds of lots of other students, yes, you can actually start a sentence with because, as long as you follow it up with an independent clause. So you can't just say because he regularly studies. That's not a good sentence. That's only a dependent clause. But if there's a comma with an independent clause after that, then that's totally fine. And this is known now as a complex sentence. And personally, these are my favorite types of sentences to write. This is a complex sentence. And you can write this sentence the other way as well. Oh, by the way. So instead of saying because he regularly studies, Luca excels in the classroom, I can say Luca excels in the classroom because he regularly studies. This is my subject and verb right at the beginning. Here is my Awubis. And this is also a complex sentence. Now, you do not need to put a comma if the dependent clause comes second. So, once again, my simple sentence is at the beginning. That's Luca excels in the classroom. I'm adding a dependent clause on the second half of the sentence to give me more information. This is what makes it a complex sentence. And again, no comma if the dependent clause is coming after the independent clause. Make sense? Let's keep going. The final thing that I want to go over is phrase, which comes after the independent clause and the dependent clause. And a phrase is not a complete thought and does not begin within a Awubis word. We talked about this briefly before with gerund phrases. This is kind of the same deal. So for instance, if I look at the sentence, hoping her mother would arrive soon, that's a fragment. That is not a complete sentence. We know that just by listening to it. Hoping her mother would arrive soon. But if I said, hoping her mother would arrive soon, comma, Rebecca was sitting on the curb, well, that's a good sentence. Similarly, if I said, walking very quietly, again, that's just a phrase. I don't know what that means. That's a fragment. But if I said, walking very quietly, James still made enough noise to wake up the baby, that's a good sentence because this is just giving me extra information up front before I give you my actual independent clause sentence. So let's review. An independent clause. An independent clause is a good sentence. It has a subject, a verb, it's a complete thought, it can stand alone. A dependent clause has a subject and a verb, but it is not a complete thought. And a dependent clause always begins with an Awubis word. A phrase is a group of words that is not a complete thought, and it does not contain an Awubis word. Simple sentence. Simple sentence is a sentence that contains a subject and a verb and is a complete thought. So an example would be Alexa went to the grocery store. A compound sentence is two simple sentences that are joined by one of the fanboys and a comma. Once again, my fanboys are for and nor, but, or, yet, so. So I could add on to my previous sentence and say, Alexa was really hungry, comma, so she went to the grocery store. Finally, I have complex sentences. And a complex sentence is a sentence that contains both a dependent clause and an independent clause. So, for instance, I could say, and again, I apologize, the dependent clause are those alubis words. So I could say, because Alexa was so hungry, comma, she decided to order a pizza. So this is how I'm building on from a simple sentence to combining two good sentences together with a fanboy to having one not complete sentence with one regular sentence, but there is an alubis word here. I also want you to note, particularly with these compound and complex sentences, that I'm saying the character's name first, or I'm saying the person's name first. So I'm saying Alexa was really hungry, so she went to the grocery store. And I'm not saying she was really hungry, so Alexa went to the grocery store. That doesn't make as much sense. So I want to put the character's name first. If you have any questions with any of this, go ahead and send me a message. Have a good day, everybody.